we know that domestic violence spreads across the spectrum, regardless of gender, race, socioeconomic status. We know that it affects many households, relationships, and things like that. And we know statistically that most people who are in a domestic violence situation, it's very difficult to get away from their abuser. It sounds really easy when you're not in it. It's easy to say, well, why she didn't leave and different things like that. But it can be many reasons why a woman doesn't leave a domestic violence situation. And I'm going to list them right now. The first reason that a lot of women do not leave domestic violence situations right away is because that four-letter word love. Okay, love will keep you in prison. Okay, mentally and emotionally. That love will keep you in prison, thereby imprisoning your physical being also. A lot of times, people think that because you love somebody that, they're going to change. And a lot of times when people are being abused, one of the things a lot of times the abusers say is, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I didn't mean that for that to happen. And a lot of women, being led by emotions and the heart, a lot of times they accept that excuse and they willing to try to move forward to work it out. And usually, after a while, they find out that that's going to happen over and over again. The other reason a lot of people do not leave, a lot of people get themselves into situations where they just don't have the finances to leave. They don't have the money. They may not have anywhere to go. They don't know where to go. They don't want to put other family members at risk a lot of times because, abusive people not only usually threaten the person they're abusing, but they threaten the family and family members. And we've seen that, carried out multiple times where abusers have harmed family members, out of trying to control the person that they're abusing. And usually by the time that happens, it may be too late for the person being abused and family members. So that's another reason a lot of people stay in abusive situations. The third reason a lot of women stay in abusive situation, I don't know if this is still the law, but the law used to be that if a person being abused leaves the house and leaves the children, that's considered abandonment. And usually, getting out the door with the children is difficult at best, especially if you got a small child or more than one child. You trying to get away and take your children with you. And sometimes the situation can be so dangerous that a woman has to just leave the home. If she can get out, she has to just run out and leave those children. And a lot of time the law looks at that as abandonment, okay, believe it or not. I don't know if that law has changed, over the years, because it's really a law that needs to change, okay? Because if you're running out of your own home because you're not safe there, you don't feel safe there, and I don't know how any law can view that home as safe for the children if they're left in there with someone that's abusive. And usually, a lot of times the mother, she doesn't want to have to leave her children because she doesn't know whether that person is so demented in the brain that the person would do harm to the children. So a lot of times the mothers feel like they are, unfortunately, they are stuck with not leaving that situation until they can figure out a way that's safe. And sometimes it might take a long time for, a woman to find a way to get out of the home that's safe. A lot of abusers have, they constantly watching everything that's going on. Abusers, it's all about control. Domestic violence is about control. So they're doing things like searching their phone, listening to their phone conversations, probably in these days have digital devices so they can watch they coming and going. They can't talk to anybody, which is what these women who've been with Diddy is coming out and say. They can't even say anything to a man like happy birthday, anything, conversate with him, because the abusive men are weak. Okay, most of the time they feel inadequate anyway. Okay, and they will make excuses for their behavior as if that woman is doing something to make them behave in these hostile ways. But the problem is really they don't have any coping mechanisms and no self-control, and they view that woman more as an object of theirs instead of as a human being. So because that's their personal object to control, the woman in that relationship usually finds that she doesn't have any relationships. She can barely maintain a relationship. She usually doesn't have any freedom to make decisions. Any decision she does make, she's probably being chastised about it because it's not what the abuser says that, they willing to accept or she can or can't do. A lot of times those women, they're looking for ways to get out of those situations, and a lot of times the way is not forthcoming because they really don't have freedom to talk to anybody because the abuser is always constantly at their side watching them, barely can leave them. So this is what it is. So there's many Diddys out there. Diddy is not the only one who acts this way. We've seen countless videos of men abusing women, throwing them. We've seen whole cases of men who, couldn't take the rejection and wound up killing the woman because she got tired of the abuse and was trying to get away from them. Okay, and this is why it gets so violent because a lot of times they're being viewed as an object instead of a person, and that person that's abusive feel like that's their personal object to control any way that they like. If the person becomes dehumanized, okay, humiliated, okay, and basically becomes a hidden figure in her own life, because she can't have any relationships, no freedoms, can't talk to anybody. If she's at work, they're calling all the time to check on them. Don't want them to say anything. No man can speak to them, whether it's innocent or not, okay? And if they're caught even talking to a man, they usually wind up in trouble. So they try to keep that out of their life because that causes so much problems for the person. And they're going to be abused over and over and over again because some man says something to them innocently, not knowing that that puts that woman at jeopardy of being able to even go home and be safe. So I hope that Diddy and all the Diddys get some help. One of the first things they need to do is be able to self-assess and realize that they have a problem. But a lot of times people around abusive people know that there's a problem. They see these little problems, but generations, people have been told to mind their business. Women used to be considered part of a man's chattel, just like all the rest of his property. So over the generations, men usually mind their business when they see other men that are abusive. It's only of late that you see this new generation of men starting to come out and say something in regard to these men who are so abusive to women. But there's a lot of Diddys. I hope Diddy gets some help. I don't know if they'll go back and charge him for the assault on this young woman, which I'm sure she didn't deserve it. Nobody deserves it, okay? Unless they was trying to kill him or something and he was defending himself, which clearly we see that that was not the case. This is a small woman. She wasn't able to defend herself. She probably didn't even have the mentality to defend herself because these abusive men, they definitely look for women who are quiet, demure, not violent. Those are the type of women they look for, and they look for beautiful women, women they could groom to their way, because really they don't want a real woman. They want somebody that they could groom so they can control.